Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are finishing up week 6. This is Roto Slappers Fantasy Football Monday Night Mania right here on the Fanatics Network. I have Streets sitting right next to me over here. The man who, big game for him tonight. Big game for him tonight. Maddie, Daddy, what's up, buddy? How are you doing this fine
What's
evening?
up, brother? Week 6. Time for us to hulk up, man. Just pumped to be here. I'm ready to see the Cowboys bring it versus this supercharged Chargers team. Big game for the Cowboys. Big game for me.
Kellen Moore revenge game or
Woo. Could be. We'll see.
But yeah, if I can explain week 6 in one sentence, it was a bloodbath, right? That's probably a good way to put it. It was a lot of injuries again. It is just a very crappy landscape out there, and it's quickly becoming a race to who's the healthiest instead of who has the best team, which is always unfortunate. But yes. Did you lose a lot of people this week? How you feeling?
Yeah, just some guys that maybe could really cost me down the stretch. The biggest one is Justin Fields with the dislocated right thumb. Like being out 4 to 6 weeks could really put a damper in my plans. A team I'm in first place, so I'm going to be going quarterback hunting moving forward in that league. But he's the big one. CMC, of course. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, a lot of big name studs.
Yeah, it was rough. I felt the heat the last few weeks from these injuries. I'm to the point now where I'm trading to just win each week. I'm losing trades, which we'll talk about a little bit later here. If you're in a shitter like 1-5, 2-4 type thing that you might have to do. But I'm at that point now in a couple leagues where I'm purposely going to lose a trade just to try to bridge my way back to 500 here. But speaking of injuries, then you said it, the primetime players is what you call them. Justin Fields dislocated right thumb, out 4 to 6 weeks. It is a secret agent, man. If you are playing in a deeper Superflex league, you might be putting in a fab claim on him. Let's be real. Like there's 6 teams are off on a bye. There's a good chance in many Superflex leagues, especially deeper ones, Tyson Bagent is going to get picked up. Christian McCaffrey. We do Roto Slappers Fantasy Baseball, and the one injury I can't stand a player getting is an oblique because it can linger, and it's hard to heal because it's hard. It's a nightmare injury in baseball. We talk about it all the time, and it's probably not too much better here in the football world. Trevor Lawrence, left knee, weird one. Probably shouldn't have been in the game. 2 minutes to go up what they were up, but gets a weird one. He seems okay, though. He avoided any major injury. David Montgomery. Welcome back, Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe? David Montgomery's going to miss some time.
That always happens with Monty, right?
Yeah. The one thing I knew was, and this is why I did not want to give up on Jahmyr Gibbs. 2 weeks ago, when I wrote the 1 month buy low article, everybody was saying sell Jahmyr Gibbs. And I was like, no. I feel like his value's gone down so much now. I feel like you could buy him for cheap. I feel like people that have Gibbs, especially some managers, were probably looking to unload him and redraft. I'm talking, not dynasty. Because I knew Mani can't, I hate to say it, but I just didn't think he was going to be able to shoulder such a load. And I was like, they're going to have to use Gibbs more than they think they're going to have to use Gibbs in this one. Monty's not going to handle the load that they think he's going to handle. So he gets banged up in that ribs. We'll waiver wire there. We'll get back to him. Quarterbacks, Ryan Tannehill, right ankle. Jimmy Garoppolo with a scary one yesterday. Back, rushed to the hospital to make sure it wasn't like a spleen or like a organ that popped. Baker Mayfield, hand. Wide receivers, running backs. Oh boy, Kyron Williams ankle. He's going to miss this week. MRI came back okay on him. Not so good for Ronnie Rivers though. That MRI I just saw, that one could be worse. So that could be a longer absence for him. Deebo Samuel, shoulders X-ray negative, so that's good. Garrett Wilson, I saw that one. That he avoided a big one on that turf. luckily we saw him running up and down. He's fine. He's going to be good to go. But you should definitely monitor it. DeAndre Hopkins, right hand injury. I also put last week in that article, make sure you sell DeAndre Hopkins before this Sunday. They got this, then a bye, and then he has a matchup, I think, with AJ Terrell coming up after that. So the name value is there after that monster week. So it's kind of why I told you to sell him. So those are the injuries.
It just seems like every year we get burned by these like veteran receivers. It was like AJ Brown one year. I don't even remember who else. AB. Now it's Nuke right now. Just kind of they get traded and then they just don't produce enough. Like,
yeah, it's not even safe to go 0 RB anymore because now you get the wide receivers that got hurt. So you're right with that one.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more. You need depth. My old model of I'm learning my lesson this year, especially. I trade. I have you trade a lot, but I don't trade as much as you, but I still trade, especially in redraft. I enjoy trading, and I enjoy because I always draft decently bench wise. I always love to trade away a starter plus a bench piece or something like that. Two starters for a big time starter because I just throw the bench guy in there in my lineup and he's fine. I like to do that a lot, but I'm learning like this year it's biting me because I don't have the depth anymore because I made some big trades to get some big names like Travis Kelce and things like that. And now with all these injuries, I'm just scraping the waiver wire. So, and the waiver wire is getting thin. This week, there is some names and there is some help, albeit I'm not sure it's going to be the greatest help for you. Let's talk about them real quick as we like that segue. That's what I was doing that whole time right there, Manny. I was like, look,
absolutely.
I'm going to say what I did and I'm scraping the waiver wire.
It was perfect. Wire. So, I mean, that's where we're at right now, week 7.
But yeah, the waiver wire article will be out tomorrow on thefanenc.com, but we're going to talk about it here real quick. The number one waiver wire ad is going to be probably a San Francisco running back, one of the two, Jordan Mason, although I just read Shanahan's comments. But if Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell are available, you got to add either one, right?
Yeah, either one's good. It's just you're not going to be able to predict the future, so just be ready for that.
Yeah. Like we were talking about it on the pre-show. It reminds me a lot of like the Mostert, Jeff Wilson era, or like when even we go before that, you had like the Tevin Coleman,
Devontae Freeman,
like that era where every week it was different, and a different guy was the one that was scoring a touchdown, and that's the whole 9 yards there. But that system's good, and it's built for running backs. They do well in it. So yeah, Jordan Mason likely going to be the number one ad. Elijah Mitchell will come right behind him on that one. Who else you like?
With this list, man, I think there's a couple of them that kind of stick out to me. Those obviously you have Jordan Mason's the thumper. Elijah Mitchell he's a smooth, zone running back, but he also has a tendency to get hurt as well. So just kind of be prepared for that. And then another one that sticks out because we've seen how good Mania has been in the run game in Detroit. Craig Reynolds, pretty cheap here. Might be a good waiver back just for volume alone, who might, we've seen Lions offense is pretty good. You might be able to get, just off touches alone, some RB2 numbers.
Yeah, I like that one. I like Craig Reynolds. He's going to be on the article this week for sure. Now that we know the Monty news. You had Ronnie Rivers on here. That one. Now he's going to be.
That was before, yeah.
But we could segue into the next guy, right? Because Zach Evans now. Does he just replace him for you on this? Is Zach Evans now the guy that you're picking up?
See, this is where the dynasty aspect is intriguing. We've kind of got, when you're scouting rookies, when you should be worried about winning, you're scouting rookies sometimes a year out. And you have guys like Sean Tucker and Zach Evans that pop. And Zach Evans was one of those guys. He showed flashes of being a stud running back. If you would have looked at, rookie mock drafts a year ago, he would have been one of the top running backs. So I am curious with Zach Evans, but at the same time, it could be a Lenny candidate maybe to get signed. But yeah, I don't think you can depend on Zach Evans to be an every week starter though.
No, but whoever, it's crazy. It's the McVay is another one. Like that offense is another one where if you got the guy, you got to start him. So I would definitely, I'm going to be putting that
Right.
in the way. Zach Evans will make the waiver wire article as a must add also. This one stings. Curtis Samuel. This is cover your
Man.
ears if you're a Dotson guy or a Dotson truther. Cover your ears here because Curtis Samuel has outscored him like every single week this season, and yeah, Curtis Samuel seems to be the number 2 there right now in Washington, and
Well,
he's
it
floating
seems
along.
yeah, well, you see Howell's not throwing deep at all. He's throwing short passes, and it's going to Logan Thomas. It's going to Curtis Samuel's got a touchdown 3 straight weeks. So there's definitely something there in your flex spot. You could do a lot worse than Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, he's going to be there. I like him. There's 6 teams on a bye this week, and plus all the injuries. All these guys are going to be in starting lineups all over the place. Jamison Williams with the nice big catch this past week. His roster ship's definitely going to climb after that one. That was a nice play. Yeah. I also will add a couple sneak peeks for the article tomorrow. Rashee Rice is going to make it for me. I actually have him as my top wide receiver ad still because albeit the snaps aren't quite there just yet, but he is being targeted at a ridiculous rate when he's on the field. Like when he's on the field, it goes to Rashee Rice. So if he were to just get that snap share up a tad, the to the moon type thing, Rashee Rice could be one of those. He could be big for you. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to use the other phrase. I hate some of those other phrases. So we'll just say he's going to be big for you. Running backs also, he's still floating around out there. Concussion should be back this week. Is Roschon Johnson is still kind of floating around. Khalil Herbert's set to miss multiple weeks, so he'll make it. Tajay Spears is still on there. We talked about him splitting time with Derrick Henry. But yeah, so there's your waiver wire ads, the big ones at least, the big names for this week. Quarterbacks, there's the biggest one we're going to talk about in the winners, so I held off on him. I didn't want to talk about him because you had him in your winners. But the big winners this week, Travis Etienne, another monster week. 267 yards, 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's killing me because I love Trevor Lawrence this past week. Trevor Lawrence threw the football 31 times and somehow was under 200 yards passing. That's a whole other story. But all the touchdowns are being vultured by Etienne out there. Whether it's in the 5 and the 20, doesn't matter. 20-yard touchdown, 5-yard touchdown. He's all over the place out there. 50-yard. But he's a monster for sure. And he's been I might have been a little too low on him coming into the season. I think I had him as a top 14 running back, but
yeah, I was right there with you. I think we heard so much camp hype about Tank Bigsby. It scared us off, and I think he was a value for so much of the offseason.
Yep.
And consensus just kind of messes with you sometimes, and this was one of those guys.
Especially for a guy who was running a ton of routes, but just not getting any passes thrown his way. So it was like he wasn't going to make up ground if he was going to split touches in the backfield. I made a funny GIF reference when Jonathan Taylor was put on the IR about Raheem Mostert. I did the Thanos thing where he's sitting on the thing when all the Avengers are hurt, walking up to him, and Thanos is like, you couldn't live with your failures, so here you are, right back at me. And it's funny because it's become so true, because now it's just not about Jonathan Taylor. That's Raheem Mostert to almost anyone who drafted a running back in the first 4 rounds of fantasy football this year, because Raheem Mostert is averaging 20.2 fantasy points per game. He has 121 on the season. He's your RB2 so far this season, right behind McCaffrey. And yeah, he's just been a monster. And as long as like you said, health is his big thing. Like, is he going to last? Probably not. So you have to enjoy it while you can. A-Chain, Mostert, probably Jeff Wilson when he comes back.
Yeah.
Ahmed got a touchdown, couple catches yesterday. I think you're just
Crazy.
starting any running back that's on the Miami. That's
Yeah.
active for Miami moving forward.
And
But yeah,
offense is
another
just
big
so
week.
good. It's so built on speed. I mean, you have to.
I saw some crazy stat. They're all Tyreek's on pace for over 2,000. Tua's on pace for over 5,000 yards passing. Raheem Mostert's on pace for like 1,600 yards or something. They are off to a ridiculous start. They are what an offense to watch, and they are fun. So yeah, any share of them I can get in each week. Let's do it. Brees Hall, welcome back to the win. Well, 2 weeks in a row now, a winner. You say league winner. I kind of like that. But yeah, imagine this. Imagine you have just this awesome weapon on your team, and he's breaking off 50, 60-yard runs. But then you're taking him out immediately after that run for about for a whole drive to put in other running backs, because that's what the Jets were doing for the first 4 weeks of the season. And it's just nice to see that Brees Hall is staying on the field now. You are absolutely right there. If the defense is good, they're looking good against they've gone through a gauntlet of quarterbacks and good teams too. But Brees Hall getting that workload, yeah. I hate that term, but you might be right with league winner. I was gonna do you want to say something?
Sorry, Dak just scored. I got hyper.
Oh, 18-yard touchdown run. Nice. That actually stinks for me for
yeah, man. Brees Hall's just one of the. Yeah, sorry, I'm.
You're excited. It's okay.
No, I mean Brees Hall is what he's been his whole since he's come. Yeah, he's just that good. We know what kind of scheme the Jets run with running backs. It's a perfect set. We've seen how bad Dalvin Cook is. That, like they said, this is only week 1 or 2 that they've taken off the kid gloves.
Yep.
So just patience. But this guy is gonna run wild. The end of the season, when it gets cold, you're gonna be thankful that you have Brees Hall on your fantasy team.
Brees Hall right now is 18th or 25th in carries at 66. He's 25th in carries. He's ranked 8th in rushing yards with 426, even though he's ranked 25th in carries so far this year.
Crazy.
Wild. He's ranked 2nd in yards per touch at 6.8. His true yards per carry 5.6. He ranks 6th. Breakaway runs, he's ranked 2. He has 6. So this is the other wild part. Again, 25th in carries. He's still ranked 2 in breakaway runs. That's how electric this guy is when he has the football in his hand. So I always thought he was going a little too
crazy.
late. Yeah, just in redraft when the ADP kept falling for some reason. I was like,
we need to give credit where credit's due.
But
when you were on him while everybody else was kind of doubting him coming off the injury, so
yeah. You see the dynasty community though. That's a lot of what we do all before the redraft season starts. Like a full year is all dynasty for us. So we knew better on Brees Hall. Like he was still a top 5 running back to us in our head. So that's why we were like, oh, I'm still going to get him in redraft. This guy's going to be the number 1 waiver wire quarterback. So the surprise ends here. Sam Howell.
Yeah.
He is, let's see here. You said back-to-back top 5s, which that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'll shoot those stats real quick.
Go ahead.
1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, 90% quarterback rating. Like, Howell's been on fire. The biggest problem is Washington's offensive line protecting the guy. But when he plays, he's pretty good. So if you're needing a high-end mid QB2, Howell's going to put up some QB1 weeks.
Let's see here. I'm doing just standard right now. So 6-point is obviously going to be a little bit different. So I'm just going to do a little 4-point just to show, because that's just a default on a lot of these things. But last 3 weeks, 18, 24, 19 fantasy points. If we go back to week 1, 15 fantasy points. Week 2, 20. His dud was Buffalo, week 3. Basically, 18 plus fantasy points in 4-point leagues. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 6 weeks. That's impressive. So yeah, and he's still available in like 80% of leagues. So if you're got to be hurting for a quarterback. So go out, had him. Sam Howell's going to lead that one away. The guy who I owe an apology to. Now, I need to tell you this real quick. I do have a bias on Adam Thielen because my bias was I was a big Stephon Diggs guy. And I thought Stephon Diggs was getting shafted because Kirk Cousins just was not the right quarterback for him. I always thought Diggs was better than Thielen. I still think that, to be honest with you, but I thought I just thought Cousins would take security blankets a lot, whoever it was throwing the football in Minnesota. So I always felt like Diggs was getting shafted, and I was a big Diggs guy. So I was always a little biased in this situation. And then going into this year, though, I wanted nothing to do with Adam Thielen, and I've been dead wrong. 11 catches, 107 and 1. So that's 3 out of 4 games with 11 catches. That's
crazy.
It's hard for me to even say this because I'm eating my words as I tell you this, but he's been good. And I admit myself on that one, on my loss on that one. So
we got a ton of comments coming in too. Let's see what's going on the old YouTube, baby.
Justin, what's up, buddy? Thank you for tuning in. There's Tim. Hello. Fantasy has been wild, really wild this year. Eckler is back. That does help. I'm glad to see that in the running back landscape. Shady, thank you for tuning in. How you doing? I'm always stuck between starting Purdy or Jackson. Dylan, thank you for tuning in. How you doing? Cohen, should I trade away David Montgomery? Yeah, it depends on what you get for David Montgomery. I had him as a sell high 2 weeks ago. So, but the way running back has gone, I can't blame anybody for holding him because he's just putting up big points. But if you can absolutely get somebody to pay over than what I think he is ROS, then go for it. That's what I would do. But I don't know about Maddie, but that's what I would do. Because I just don't have him. I don't view him as an RB1, but you might be able to get RB1.
Yeah, it's a tough situation here because you have a guy who's produced quite a bit, but then he's also hampered by a rib injury. For a guy who's very physical, it's going to be tough for him. I think if he does come back, they're not going to feed him like they did before. So I think now might be the best time to get out just with that injury risk.
Yep, that's what I would do. That's why I said I saw him get traded in a couple leagues last week, and the hauls were they were actually pretty nice hauls. So I got David Montgomery, and the other team got back TJ Hawkinson and Adam Thielen in the deal. So worked out pretty well for that side on that one, but that's kind of where I would aim for that. I would use David Montgomery easily in trade bait if I needed help. Now I have teams though that are desperately hurting at running back. And if they are, it's tough to do so. So I see both sides on that, but yeah, if you're getting if you're getting RB1 value back for him or high end RB2 value back for him, I can certainly see that. But yeah, winners, back to them. Adam Thielen, I had said in the Rock'em Dock'em article, any game Thielen sees 10 plus targets, he has 100 yards. So he did it again. Alvin Kamara, another 20-point performance out of him. Yeah, he's getting a lot of volume right now down there. Sucks I love Kendrick Miller, but his day will come at some point. But why not though? You might as well run Alvin Kamara into the ground, right?
Yeah,
and conserve the rookie back at that point. But Zay Flowers finally gets his touchdown out there. Zay Flowers is a pretty safe wide receiver too. He's kind of molded into in most lineups out there. He's going to get you double-digit points. The targets are there. We're just the touchdown was nice because that helps. We were just kind of missing the monster.
One thing, if you don't mind, I'd like
go ahead. Yo, you could say whatever.
Say one thing I'd like to go back to is Alvin Kamara. Yeah. So one thing I did notice watching that Saints game is how weak Derek Carr's arm is. He is not a gunslinger. So to me, that's just I don't know if it's because the injuries are just mounting up or whatnot, but I feel like Kamara's just going to keep getting fed. It's not necessarily Chris Olave. We've seen Michael Thomas eat. We saw Taysom Hill eat. We're seeing these underneath guys get fed a lot more than Chris Olave. So just kind of take that into consideration moving forward.
Yeah, he's seen 13. He's 7 catches again yesterday. I always knew that part was going to come, but you were right. 22 and 19 carries too the last 2 weeks too. So it's not just the passing game. He's a workhorse, true bell cow right now, and I'm not a fan of Derek Carr, so I agree with you on that one. He's a perfect little security blanket for him. Losers.
Right.
Devontae Adams. Whew. What are you doing with Devontae? Trying to sell him for anything you can get at this point, or are you holding?
Well, now you have what? No Jimmy G at quarterback. He's out now, so now you're kind of struggling there. I think I'd look to sell at this point, see what you can get, or pray that he gets traded at the trade deadline.
Yes. Again, I hate banking on NFL trades because they rarely ever happen. I know CMC and a couple other things have happened, but it just always doesn't work out too when they get traded, right? New system, sometimes working with a new quarterback mid-season. So that part I always worry about, but the whole other topic, yeah, it doesn't look good. I don't know. I kind of might buy low on him. That's what I'm kind of feeling. I'm kind of hoping that maybe you buy low, you get Jimmy G back. If only buy this is if you're 4-1 right now, or somehow magically undefeated, which you must have a horseshoe up your rear because it's almost impossible this year. But if you are 5-0, 4-1, one of those teams, now's a good time that you might be able to just something off your bench and get a Devontae Adams back. Because I'm glad Devontae Adams I can lump in here with losers to like T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, a lot of these other big name wide receivers that aren't kind of putting up the numbers that we expected them to put up. Now's a perfect time. It is. It really is. Like should be. I am 4-1 in a couple leagues, and I plan on attacking the crap out of some of the other teams to see if I can get myself just a super, super buy low on T. Higgins or a Devontae Adams. So if you're sitting there and you're winning, I think Devontae Adams then for me is probably a buy low. DJ Moore, woo, yeah, that one. You're not digging Secret Agent Man? Feeding him the football?
I'm not ready for that. I've seen too much triumph or tragedy with the Bears that I'm ready to jump off of it.
DJ Moore is probably thinking to himself right now, like, oh boy, I'm back to what I'm used to now. Here we go. Maybe the Bears are bad though, so maybe he'll get some garbage time flex play numbers for you moving forward. Rachaad White. So, yeah, he's losing touches. But the big thing with Rachaad White for me is, and I have Rachaad White in a couple leagues. I'm going to pull it up right now. And this is something that was never going to cut it because his efficiency was never the greatest, right? Even getting the volume. But the receiving work's just not there like we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be a heavy receiving back, which is something Baker Mayfield like historically did okay with. It's not like it was a big jump off from Tom Brady to overall quarterback. It's a big jump off. I'm talking about when it comes to throwing passes to the running backs. It was not like we know Brady loves to do it, but Baker's never had a problem doing it. And that's something I wish we're going to see an uptick in with Rachaad White. But you are right. Now he's kind of losing touches on that one. And yeah, his yards per carry, 2.3, 4.3 against Chicago, 2.7, 3.7, 3.7. However, this is kind of reminding me of Najee Harris last year in a little bit now. Because after the Minnesota and Chicago, which the defense is not so great, but Philly, New Orleans, and Detroit are tough matchups for a running back. Pretty good defenses. He has another one next week, or this upcoming week with Atlanta. But after that, like Buffalo, not good versus running backs. It opens up a little. Like Tennessee, and San Fran aren't the greatest, but then he gets Indy, Carolina. There's a Green Bay, Jacksonville, New Orleans in the fantasy playoffs. Like maybe Rashad White could be a buy low in PPR.
I was just thinking when you put it like that with their upcoming schedule, and with you just at this point you just need volume. So maybe you're right on that one because it is Keyshawn Vaughn he's competing with. It's not like, you might be right on Rashad White. I'm gonna have to look into that more.
It's just the thought. It kind of like the Najee thing last year. We were like, man, it's been bad. But then you look at the schedule and it was like, for a team that has bad quarterback play, a bad offensive line, they're playing the hardest run defenses all in a row in the NFL. Like, whoo. So that's kind of what I thought on Rashad White on that one. Joe Mixon. Yeah, man. He's the volume kind of has kind of salvaged him to be an RB2, right? So far. Overall, though, he has not looked that good.
Right.
I'm pulling up right now. What would you do?
I think that's kind of where we're at. We have this top tier that's just real electric, and then we have everybody else.
Yeah, it's not been good for him, man. He hasn't had, I guess, 81 2 weeks ago, but that was Arizona. It's just hard for me to judge that whole offense because I don't know what they were to start the season because of the Joe Burrow calf injury. So it's interesting to see post-bye how they look. San Fran is not that one's going to be tough for them, but Buffalo, Houston, Baltimore. Baltimore could be a little tougher, but he actually was decent in the last one against those two. But Buffalo, Houston, they should put up some points. They got Jacksonville, Indy, Minnesota. So another one of those things where I kind of maybe if you could swoop in and get Joe Mixon. The running back landscape is so bad that I think every running back's a buy low right now.
I mean,
there's teams. If you could get anyone that carries the ball 14 times, it might be a buy low right now. Geno Smith. I'm glad we got up to him because I'm putting clown makeup on myself right now as I get ready because I feel like I have to start him this week against Arizona.
Quarterback 22.
It has not been good. It's been sloppy too. A lot of turnovers. I actually watched the Cincinnati game, and it wasn't pretty by any means of the imagination. But I don't know. I feel like it changes a little bit next week because he gets Arizona, who's ranked 28th against opposing quarterbacks, and I feel like that's the game. I feel like that's going to be the Geno game. They got JSN going a little bit last week, which I kind of like. But, yeah, no, he hasn't been good. And we talked about him turning into a pumpkin to an extent. Like he wasn't going to put up what he did last year, but he's been much worse than we all thought he was going to be.
Yeah, it's been bad.
Although he's right back in the streamer tier for me this week, and I'll probably be hurt by it. Yeah, the elite quarterbacks, like you mentioned here, all had rough goes. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen all struggled, but yeah, you're right. They're all going to be fine. Hurts, I missed him. He had a rough one too, but you put him on there. Hurts, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. Yeah, those are still set it, forget it, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tough guns. It's been it's just been a weird start to a season.
Well, I think a lot of people give up at this point, and I think that's the worst thing you can do. Like, because you're going to get these teams that have faced adversity, had injuries, all that, and they're going to quit setting their lineups in money leagues, or they're going to quit playing waivers, things like that. And now's the time you stay the course, because some of these teams that are 2 and 4 are going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Because teams quit. So do not quit because you are having a rough go. Everybody is having a rough go.
Yeah, go look at if you're not used to trading, get used to it. It's fun. Get your league adjusted to get everybody involved in trading. It's more fun that way. But go look at everyone's team right now. Go through everybody's team is the first thing you should go do. When you stop listening to this pod, go study your league. Memorize what players are on every single team. And you will see what Maddie just alluded to is it's a mess out there for a lot. a lot of those teams right now. So it's far from over. It's going to be a fight. There might be under 500 teams fighting for that 6th spot in a 12-team league for the playoffs. So it's far from over. And he's spot on with the waiver thing. Now's the time to also start checking waivers daily, because people will drop weird things also, useful things, players that you can start that they're giving up on. Other teams aren't going to be looking for them because half the league, 4 or 5 teams might not be doing waivers anymore. So you might even get some of the guys that we mentioned before, like the Mason, the Reynolds, the Zach Evans, things like that. You might even put your claims in. Put your claims in, even if you're 6th or 7th or 5th or whatever it is in line. You have to put your claims in because, like you just said again, you'd be surprised how many times it starts coming through for you. And it's far from over. At 2 and 4, I always look. That's when I'll start trading, and I might start trading to try to get back in it. It's a risky dice to roll. You kind of got to know what you're doing, but look to down. Like if you got guys that are on buys and you're 2 and 4, maybe you take a slight downgrade on a player. Maybe you just to get something back that you can use this week. But make sure that when you're trading now, if you are 2 and 4, you start looking at other bye weeks. You don't want to get a player back because you're going to have to crawl back into it a little bit. You don't want to get a player back that's going to go on bye next week. So I tend to start looking for, if I'm going to trade some of these guys, I start looking for the guys that are on buys like weeks 10 through 13. So you could push it back and try to get a few weeks in a row too for that one. But it's absolutely not over. And there's going to be a million teams that are 2 and 4 right now that win it all this year. And that's just how the apple falls sometimes in these things.
And name value too. That's another one people get caught up in, that are, the guys that have Kittle or the guys that have Terry McLaurin, players like that, Najee Harris. Now's the time to go ask about Thielen. Ask about Raheem Mostert. You have nothing to lose to at least inquire. Some of these guys, like I said, people are worried about. Even if Adam Thielen's a wide receiver 1, there's guys that are going to be like, oh, well, he's going to get hurt next week. He always gets hurt. So things like that, play to your advantage.
Yep.
Don't quit playing the game. Step up your game, because that's what you need to do if you want to win that money, honey.
Now's a good, I like that. And guys like Adam Thielen, if you're buying an Adam Thielen, you could pay face value for him right now. There's guys out there that are, if you're going to pay face value for Adam Thielen, they'll take it because they are afraid that he's going to turn into a pumpkin or he's going to get hurt, just like Raheem Mostert, as Maddie was talking about. And it's okay to go. To me, I think it's okay to actually go buy these guys at what their price is right now. So, because they'll help you win right now, and they can get you 2-3 wins here in the next couple weeks and get you right back into this thing. So it'll be well worth it for you. Right. I see you, Tim. That's what what we're talking about. That's my strategy in fantasy baseball yearly.
How about the Rangers, baby?
Are they winning?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the week. Even in you know what though, because I know even at 2 and 4 in some of these leagues, I'm gonna start going out and looking for the struggling guys that are on, but like a T Higgins, and see if I'm gonna try to see if I can get them dirt cheap right now, and just stash them. But that's the name of the game. Don't be afraid to send a trade offer either. That's another thing. Don't be nervous to get.
One other thing about waivers, even if it's a position that's not of need, if you have bench space, go pick up a Taysom Hill, because you never know when he's going to have a 7 for, 79, 49, whatever. And then you're able to trade that guy for a running back that you need or a receiver that you need. So if he's getting volume, he's getting touches, pick him up if they're on waivers. Doesn't matter if you're deep at receiver and you don't need a receiver ice, or there's just so many of them out there.
Look, always get the best waivers. Doesn't matter who you have. Everyone has bench space at this point, so put your claims in. No matter, even if you. So, like we're talking about Rashee Rice, for instance. If you don't need a wide receiver, but you still have the bench space, absolutely stash Rashee Rice still on your bench, because it's going to come around to it where you might need that at some point anyway. So, yeah, Maddie's spot on with that. Always use Get rid of any dead weight, guys that are hurt, things that are not useful, and always keep up adding all the new waivers. Look, you'll have you're going to get an Amari DiMercato here or there. It happens. Although he did lead the Cardinals in snaps, which is the funny part about that. Nobody just expected Damian Williams to get 12 snaps and carry the ball 7 times in those tough snaps. But so you're going to get those occasional duds on your waiver wires. But sometimes you get Puka, and some fun things like that. Who knows? Zach Evans could just you liked him, right? You liked him in college. Is what you said. So who knows? And that's like Kyron Williams wasn't good,
right?
Like he wasn't efficient. Not like he was some all-pro running back. He just was getting all the volume there. So that's just basically why he was putting up all those points. But so yeah, you always make sure you put those in. What I did want to ask before we wrap up here, so you can watch your Cowboys, because we did actually pretty good here, 40 minutes. If there's anybody putting you on the spot, if you are 2-4, 1-5, what players specifically would you target right now that you think that you could get cheaper that are going to finish out the season strong?
To me, the one name that sticks out, if you're struggling at running back, it might be premature, but Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs.
I like
he's getting the volume, he's getting the targets, and there's nobody really else in that backfield. RB12 on the year. Look at the last 4 weeks: RB12, RB6, RB15, RB13, and this is another guy you might be able to get cheaper than he is, and he might end up being an RB1 on the season. Look at who he plays from week 8 on. He plays Denver, Miami, Las Vegas, Green Bay, Buffalo, New England, Las Vegas, Cincinnati. He's got some good matchups, and you're always going to get red zone opportunity when you're playing with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. I like the Pacheco one. And I've noticed after memorizing everyone's teams in all my leagues, it always feels like whoever has Pacheco, he's like a bench running back for them too.
Right.
So that always helps. Like someone's bench, they might have a little surplus on the running backs. So absolutely go throw some offers out there for him. I like that one. My Rock'em of the week is a guy that I think you might be able to. Probably should have did it last week. But Aaron Jones comes back hopefully this week, and he gets Denver, and then he gets Minnesota next week. So like 2 really good matchups. I feel like that one. Denver obviously is a slam dunk. Anyone who plays Denver, you're just starting them. So I would go out there and maybe see what the Aaron Jones owners are doing, because they've probably moved on or had to figure out another thing, because he hasn't been there since week 1. Maybe they have 2 other running backs that they've gotten, and he's just stashed on their bench or something like that. So Aaron Jones is one guy that I would also go look for, because I do think he can finish the year strong too, if he stays healthy, obviously.
Right.
Any wide receivers?
I love the Rashee Weiss one just because of volume, everything like that. Jacoby Myers is another one. He seems to be getting fed more than with maybe Devontae Adams getting traded. I don't know how that's going to play out, but he's another one. Mike Evans, who's we haven't heard a lot about, because he is coming back from injury. Only had 9 points versus Detroit. Might be another guy to target because we saw what he was doing. Calvin Ridley, I still like. I think receivers deep. I think you can make a case for a lot of guys that are outside the top 20 that could definitely sneak in by the time week 12 gets here.
Yeah, go ask. I know the people who have tried to trade him for weeks and they couldn't. But now it's just worth going and trying, I should say. But I like Drake London. Could be a guy you could get cheaper than you think. Just because some of those people, this is in redraft, I'm talking, not dynasty. Though he's going to be expensive in dynasty still. I'm talking in specifically redraft here for Drake London, but I think Drake London's a guy that you can target and maybe go get if you're struggling, especially if you need a wide receiver. Ritter might not be great, but ever since week 1, his targets 8, 6, 7, 9, 12. And in 4 of those 5 weeks, he put up double-digit PPR points. So he's another one there. that I kind of like if we're going to talk about wide receiver. Yeah, Rashee Rice is going to be that's my like main target because you could still get him for free too off the waiver wire in so many leagues. I if I'm selling off some of these teams, I know you like so Jordan Addison. Right. I feared one thing when Jefferson went down. And that was I have never seen this offense without him. And I don't know how good it's going to be. So before the wheels fall off completely in Minnesota, like maybe see if you could pair Jordan Addison with somebody else and upgrade a wide receiver too. Even try something like that for now. You might not regret it later down the line.
No, I don't hate that. And also, maybe Addison equals KJ Osborne. You never know. Maybe Osborne's just as good as Addison the second half of the season. So that's you can go down a couple tiers and maybe get the same production.
Yep. I like that one. Any tight ends? Yeah, I hate that position.
I want to ask, I don't want to go for an hour, but
go ahead.
Dalton Schultz, man, what are we doing with this guy? He's on a hot streak the last couple games. Is this guy going to finish? I mean, he looks like he's getting the targets and getting the production. Is Dalton Schultz a top 12 tight end rest of the season?
So I saw a crazy thing on Twitter. I'd have to pull it back up. But it was Schultz's target share when Tank Dell's out seems to be higher. But whether it's he's getting it from targets or touchdowns, I feel like Dalton Schultz has probably moved himself back into the top 12. The top 12 is probably it's not something to be proud of being in the top 12 anymore because the back end of the tight ends are all streamers anyways. But I think he's becoming more than a weekly streamer. I think they're on a bye this week. But yeah, he's definitely moved back into the top 12. He was drafted there and he's kind of placed himself back there. CJ Stroud looks legit. So yeah, I like him and he could be a good target. They're on a bye this week. So if you're struggling at tight end, now's the time to go do it. These guys attack the teams that have buys because they usually need something to use. So if somebody's 2-4, 1-5, and they got a bunch of guys on a bye, you could probably get one of those guys if you give them something useful that week and moving forward on that one. But yeah, I like Dalton Schultz. You want to know who else I like? Wildly, I'll regret saying this when it's all said and done. Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I heard you say Drake London and then Kyle Pitts. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But I have that issue where sometimes I don't pivot fast enough. So you could be right here. And Ritter could just be Sam Howell, and we don't know it.
No, I think Sam Howell's going to be better than Ritter. But I think Ritter, he might be real life bad, but he's doing enough. He's throwing a football enough now in fantasy where they're at least getting some targets in these games. And whether it's he scored a touchdown, which was fantastic. 11 targets last week, a touchdown this week on 6 targets. That's what we want to see. If I could see Kyle, tough matchup versus Tampa. If Kyle Pitts shows up in this one, you might not be able to buy anymore. That's the thing. He could still be pretty dirt cheap. It might not cost you anything off that you're starting. That's the best part of Schultz and Pitts and these guys when it comes to tight end is you could probably get rid of something off your bench to go get them. And you're right. I'm always late to the party also. This happens to me in baseball and football, and it's because I need to see the data for the sample size. And then by the time the sample size is big enough, I can't get any of these guys anywhere.
Can't get an invite.
You just gotta. That's the name of the game. You just gotta throw that dart at it fast and hope that it pays off. But yeah, kind of like him. But otherwise, yeah, quarterbacks you could find. They still float around. Right. And if you one more thing before we go, because we're sign off then so you can watch your game. If you do have if you are 2-4 and you do have a big time quarterback, especially in 4-point per touchdown leagues, don't be afraid to use that quarterback to try to rebuild holes on your team. Because sometimes somebody will value the Hurts or the Mahomes and you can get top 20, top 30 players back or a player back. So if you're hurting at running back, you can get a top-end running back for Patrick Mahomes in some of these leagues, especially if they have the depth. And you could save your season doing that because we just talked about Sam Howell. You go from Mahomes to Sam Howell, but all of a sudden, now you put in a Breece Hall in your running back. Your team just got better. As crazy as that sounds, it got better. So think outside the box and sometimes use those quarterbacks to sell if you need to climb back into it. But yeah, this was hopefully we helped you out here. Maddie,
Yeah,
I'm going to
no, I
let you go
appreciate
watch
it.
your game.
And I appreciate you, Streets, for working with me. Like I said, we are a little shorter than usual. I just get a nervous wreck when I'm watching my Cowboys. So it's one of those I don't want to start cussing or shit my Tourette's sneak peek, and then we're in trouble.
No. I want you to enjoy the game too. So at least you get about 3/4 here to go watch. So it's them boys. So go watch your boys there in the Kellen Moore revenge game. And I'm sure
No,
I'll message you during it anyways, and we'll see how this goes.
absolutely.
but
Dude, and Streets, thank you for all your prep. Thank you for everything that goes into this show, guys. He kicks ass and takes names. I really appreciate it. I love the waiver conversation. Check your waivers daily. Reach out. Even though trades are uncomfortable, there's calculators, there's rankings, there's ways to help yourself. Ask a guy's opinion. It doesn't hurt. We have a YouTube channel. We're on Twitter. Send us a message. We can help you with these kind of ideas. Don't hesitate.
Yeah. DM us, comment, doesn't matter how. We'll answer.
Right.
And I'm flattered by he says that, but he is the man. Go watch his videos. He breaks it down on all these players. So he'll break down plenty more of them as the season goes here. So head on over to the YouTube page, like it, subscribe to it, whatever. Make sure you get alerts when the Maddie Daddy videos drop, because you won't be you'll be happy and you'll be fast, because you want to be just like you want to be quick with injury news. You want to be quick to check those Maddie Daddy videos out, so he can break it down, and then he can help you do what you need to do when it comes to making a trade. That's how you got to do it. And then as for me, a lot of written stuff again this week, so we'll have the Rock'em Dock'em waiver stuff out tomorrow. I'll go over the fanent.com for all of that stuff. And yeah, buddy, we'll be back next Monday. What's the Monday night game next week?
I think they just showed it. I'm pretty sure it's Minnesota, San Francisco. Let's check real quick.
I'm looking now.
That would be an interesting game for sure.
Because at least, it won't be the Cowboys, so we'll probably be back on at a regular time then.
Yeah.
If it's the Bears, we'll be on at a regular time, because I probably just won't watch it.
Yeah,
but
San
it is
at Minnesota.
That'll be fun, actually. That one might be a little bit fun. It might be San Francisco demolishes Minnesota, but it'll be fun for fantasy purposes.
Hey, and you know what we get Sunday night? Miami versus Philly.
Now that one's going to be fun. Now that's the game of the week right there. Now that's the one I'm circling. I can't wait to sit on my couch and pig out and watch some football for that one. But anyways, I'm Maddie. Thanks again. Thanks to everybody watching out there. We appreciate it. If you ever need any help or anything from us, always reach out and ask. Make sure you stay tuned here to the Fanatics Network all week long for a bunch of great content, ranging from everything from here, fantasy football, to real football. The New Orleans Saints with Dome Field Advantage. You got movies and TV shows and a lot of wrestling and a whole bunch of awesome stuff throughout the week. So make sure you stay here on the Fanatics Network. And we're going to see you guys. We'll see you next week.